Christmas Eve, my favorite day of the entire year. A day full of Christmas cheer, goodwill, and excitement as we all wait for the man in the red suit to visit us while we sleep. But I won't be sleeping tonight, no sir, because I gotta wait up and give this present to dear old Saint Nick. Ah, a key you say, but not just any old key. This key has the power to unlock any door. I got it after I realized my couch still has some magic left over from the big comfy couch review. No more will Santa have to break into houses with no chimney. No more burnt Santa bum for people who leave their fire on. Yep, from this day forward, Santa can just waltz into any house he wants, cutting down delivery time by about 12%. But we've got some time to kill before then, so let's take part in some good old Christmas traditions.
You gotta be brave to go outside, so I'll just stay here and hide. And darling, I know that it is true, so I'll just stay and watch some cartoons with you. So come and join me and join in the obscurity. Join along, and together we'll sing this song. It's Obscurity.
Now I don't know how you guys spent your Christmas Eves as a kid, but I spent mine with a very specific set of VHS tapes. 4 to be exact, 1 in the morning and 3 right before bed. And while most people probably spent their time watching Rudolph and Frosty, my Christmas Eves were just a little more unique than that. What, you expecting me to tell you what they are? You'll just have to stay tuned and find out all about the joys of young PJ John. Roll the first tape.
Meet Kipper.
Ouch!
Kipper the dog.
Kipper. A severely underappreciated kids cartoon from the late 90s about a dog named Kipper and the adventures he shares with his friends Tiger, Pig, Arnold, and Jake. Based on the book series of the same name, Kipper was a brilliant preschool series with a little something for everyone. It originally aired on Nick Jr. in the US and later on Trios TV over here in Canada. Faced with the lineup Nick had at the time, Kipper was quickly swept under the rug after its initial run, but just as quickly found a following on VHS and on early DVDs released by Hit Entertainment. I remember it like it was yesterday. Christmas Eve of 2004-ish. I had just started getting into the Kipper tapes that had sat on my shelves for the last few years. I'd watched Cuddly Critters a few times already, but the other two, not so much. Being that it was Christmas time and I had the options between the tapes Let It Snow and Imagine That, my choice was pretty obvious. Imagine that. Imagine that, huh? As the name suggests, the tape focused on the more imaginative tales from the series, and just so happened to contain some of my favorite episodes. Watching Imagine That became something I'd look forward to just as much as I did Christmas itself. It marked the beginning of my favorite day of the year and led my mind to imagine the joys I'd be facing the next day. Even the previews hold value for me. They're nothing ultimately too special, just some trailers for Wiggles and Barney tapes. But growing up, I look forward to them as if they were the previews before Christmas. The tape contains 7 stories that follow Kipper as his imagination takes him from one adventure to another. Whether you're watching him be chased by a fire-breathing dragon, or just simply pretending to be a pirate, there's never a dull moment with Kipper. In one episode, Pig's little cousin Arnold floats away on a balloon to a candy mountain, and it's up to Kipper and his friends to rescue him. Meanwhile, Arnold's having the time of his life with all the candy and ice cream imaginable. In another, Kipper gets an invitation to Tiger's costume party and struggles to choose an outfit worthy of winning the best costume. Kipper goes through many different costumes, everything from a clown to an Indian chief, but ultimately decides on Wonder Kipper the Super Dog. Unfortunately, he's no match for his friend Jake, who shows up in an outfit way funnier than it should be. But hands down, the best episode is the magic lamp. In this one, Kipper finds a magic lamp in a pile of leaves and realizes that every time he makes a wish, it comes true. At first, Kipper assumes it's just an ordinary lamp and shows it to his pal Tiger, who is currently tearing down the wallpaper from his wall. Kipper decides to give him a hand, but he can't help but wish something exciting would happen. With a couple more tears of wallpaper, a secret door is revealed, along with a seemingly endless stairway. This leads Kipper and Tiger on an exciting journey that has to be seen to be believed. Which is kinda odd, honestly, because the only thing that happens to me when I go up the stairs is I get tired. All in all, Kipper's Imagine That is a great collection of some of the best Kipper episodes. Now, of course, not every episode is as good as Magic Lamp, but I'd be hard-pressed to say I didn't get some enjoyment from even its worst episode. However, this shouldn't be looked at as my review of the entire series. If anything, it's a review of the tape. Kipper is a brilliant series, and I wouldn't be surprised if it showed up on Things Theater one day. Until then, if you're looking to check out Kipper for the first time, Imagine That is a great place to start.
Not a bad way to start the day, huh? But when I said there were just 4, I kinda lied. You see, as I got older, I kinda got tired of waiting all day for the last 3, so I ended up adding 2 more. I consider these the knockoff traditions.
First, there was The Little Drummer Boy, the classic Rankin Brass special about a little boy filled with a strong hatred for all people. However, he must overcome this hatred when his lamb Baba is badly injured, and the only one who can save him is a babe in a manger. Now, I always looked back on The Little Drummer Boy with a contempt that's really out of place for my Christmas traditions. However, after rewatching it, I was completely wrong. In the end, The Little Drummer Boy is a heartwarming special about forgiveness and the power that love holds, even if it's a little darker than your average Christmas special. Of course, a half-hour Rankin Brass special wasn't quite enough to hold me off till the evening, so later still, I added Arthur's Perfect Christmas. Arthur's Perfect Christmas is, well, perfect. It's beautifully animated, has a wonderful soundtrack, and is all wrapped up in a realistic and refreshing story. It's also got a great message. You don't always get what you want in life, but if you make the best of it, sometimes you'll have even better. Arthur's Perfect Christmas is one of, if not the best Christmas specials based on a kids show, and I seriously can't do it justice in this little bit of time I have to talk about it. I seriously urge you to check this one out.
Now on to the main 3. The 3 movies I looked forward to every year. Once these had begun, there was no going back. Christmas had commenced and Santa was on his way. But before we go any further, I should really warn you. The contents of this VHS tape may shock you. Viewer discretion is advised.
Caillou's holiday movie.
I know what you're thinking. How the hell did I find myself here? Well, me too. Before I go any further, it should really be noted that the following review does not in any way represent how I feel about the actual show, just the movie. Which, for better or worse, is the only movie based on the series. Caillou has always been a rather controversial show. Many people I know claim their parents wouldn't let them watch it due to the whiny nature Caillou is most known for. However, I'm proud to say that Caillou's holiday movie is vastly superior to the show it's based on. It's another simple yet charming Christmas story, and one that, in my opinion, holds educational value to this day. You see, in this movie, Caillou's not the bratty, whiny 4-year-old baby he's known for. In fact, there were several times throughout the movie where they could have had him freak out, but instead, Caillou surprisingly showed a much more mature attitude.
However, I still have to wonder, why the hell is he...
I think he looks fine. The film takes place over the course of 2 weeks, as Caillou learns about and prepares for Christmas. It also has this cool advent calendar-like style as Caillou counts down the last 12 days till Christmas. This ain't no ordinary chocolate calendar though. Each door is an opportunity to learn about the history of Christmas or how it's celebrated in different parts of the world. This is honestly a really creative way to include such things in a kids movie without it just being thrown in our face. I actually found myself looking forward to each story as they taught me just about as much as they taught Caillou. We also get to see Caillou and his family do something or another each day to prepare for Christmas, such as picking a Christmas tree, decorating, and making Christmas cards. Sometimes we even get appearances from some super obscure Caillou characters. Growing up, I always assumed that they only appeared in the movie, but after further research, it appears that most all of these characters actually appeared in the show at some point. Surprisingly, the best part of this movie is the music. That's sort of becoming common with these kid shows, huh? But no, really, most of the songs from this movie have stuck with me to this day. I mean, it could be because I watched it every year for a while, but, you know. Also, it kinda helped to put a plug in Caillou's mouth, because it seemed like every time he was about to freak, his mom would burst into song and Caillou saw the error of his ways. I don't think the actual show was really known for its music, but based on this movie, it's something they could have really benefited from. The animation is pretty good too. It's simple, yes, but it looks a hell of a lot better than some of the CGI crap they got out today. In the end, if you didn't grow up with this movie like I did, or if you especially despise Caillou, I can't really say I'd recommend this movie. However, if you have an open mind and are into this stuff, I'd definitely give it a watch. It's certainly not my favorite of my holiday traditions, but it's still full of heart and cheer that you might not expect from your least favorite 4-year-old, and you might find yourself surprised if you give him a chance.
That's me!
Most people put out the white kind, but if you watched Max and Ruby, you'd know Santa likes chocolate milk way more.
What's this? Chocolate milk. My favorite.
Well, I wrapped this present and put out a snack. Santa should be here any moment. But did you ever hear of that terrible year where Santa Claus unhitched his sleigh and vowed to take a holiday? How do I know so much about Santa? Well, I've watched this tape for the last 19 years.
That's right, the year without a Santa Claus. Probably the most normal of my little Christmas rituals, and also my most favorite. In fact, it's probably my favorite Christmas movie of all time. The magic and Christmas cheer I feel when watching this special is unmatched by any other. It never really feels more like Christmas than when I'm watching this special. Of course, Rankin Brass pretty much holds a monopoly over Christmas specials, producing some of the most recognizable holiday specials of all time. And even though The Year Without a Santa Claus gets at least a few airings on TV this time of year, I still feel it's a little underappreciated these days. As the title suggests, it's all about the year Santa tried to take a holiday and the fallout from that event. You see, Santa's been down lately. The stresses of the job have landed him in bed with a mighty cold, and he can't help but think that the world doesn't believe in him or even care anymore. Though Mrs. Claus shows support for her husband, she can't help but hypothesize that Santa would feel a little more compelled to get out of bed if she could find a little proof of Christmas spirit left over from last year. She sends head elves Jingle and Jangle into the world to scout out some Christmas spirit. However, it isn't long before they wind up in trouble, and old St. Nick has to gallivant his way out of bed and back into the world to save them. Meanwhile, the elves, who have now met up with perhaps the world's luckiest kid, Igny Thistlewhite, have landed the baby reindeer Vixen in the dog pound. They decide to take the matter to the mayor of Selftown, who promises to release Vixen from the pound and even give Santa a national holiday if the elves can find a way to make it snow in Selftown for the first time in years. They call up Mrs. Claus, who realizes the only way to make it snow in Selftown is to convince the Miser brothers to make a compromise. Snow Miser and Heat Miser are the standout from the special for most people. Basically, the coldness of the world is controlled by Snow Miser and all the heat is controlled by Heat Miser. Basically, whatever they touch either freezes or melts in their clutch. Mrs. Claus realizes she'll never get anywhere with the Miser brothers, so she takes the matter to their mother, Mother Nature, who makes quick work of her troublesome boys. The mayor is beyond excited to see it actually snow in Selftown and keeps to his word, with all the newspapers in the world declaring Santa's first national holiday. Santa then receives a touching letter from a little girl declaring she'll have a blue Christmas without him. Heartbroken by this and touched by all the care and generosity of the world, Santa decides not to take his holiday after all. With a little Christmas magic, Santa manages to get everything ready in time for his Christmas ride, much to the surprise and joy of all the children of the world, proving that yearly, newly, faithfully, and truly, somehow Santa Claus always comes. In my opinion, this special is a masterpiece and definitely should be viewed every Christmas along with the other classics. I would go as far to say that it's much better than Santa Claus is Coming to Town, the far more popular Santa special. Why? Well, everything of course. As usual, the stop motion animation is on point, The characters are wonderfully crafted, and it's chock full of the very Christmas spirit Mrs. Claus sets out to find. But for me, it all comes down to one special moment shared when Iggy asks his father and a disguised Santa if they still believe in Santa Claus. This is single-handedly the most defining moment of the special. The song I Believe in Santa Claus tells of the time Iggy's father was visited by Santa one Christmas night. I'm not ashamed to say that I tear up almost every time I see this clip, and I love it more and more every time I do. You see, the world needs a Santa Claus. A man who's kind, thoughtful, giving, and full of love for everybody, regardless of where they come from. In a world slowly being filled with hatred, a little love can go a long way.
Of course, we need Santa Claus. What a boring, hate-filled world it would be without him. As long as he exists in the hearts of kids everywhere, there will always be presents under your tree every Christmas Eve. So I hate to say it, but for a few kids of the world, this will be a year without a Santa Claus. I've heard that people over in the United States have banned Santa from their homes and claim they won't be celebrating Christmas with their kids this year. By my beard! No Christmas! No Christmas! And no presents either! No presents? Why, every kid deserves presents on Christmas! Of course, every child deserves a little Christmas magic. Oh my God, Santa, too! You actually came! Oh, of course I came, John. I always come to those who believe in me. You do believe in me, don't you, John? Me? Why, of course I do. You're right here. In fact, I was just telling my viewers why it's so important to believe in you. Ho, I'm glad, John. But it's always most important to believe in yourself. You've always been a very good boy. Thanks, Santa. I actually got you something. Santa? He hasn't been here yet. Kind of a shame though, I was kind of hoping he'd be here to watch that last tape with me. I've got a couple questions as to the validity of a few things.
Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer, another special I love that a lot of people hate, much like Grandma's Killer Fruitcake. Based on the song of the same name, Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer strangely aired on Halloween of 2000 and continues to air on the CW every holiday season. We open on the main event with a much older Jake Spankenheimer telling the tale of how his grandma got ran over by a reindeer.
See? That's why you don't stop believing in Santa!
Of course, they couldn't just go on from there, and the story rewinds to a few weeks before the disaster so they can introduce us to the worst part of the special. Evil Cousin Mel's scheme to sell Grandma's store to the all-powerful Austin Bucks and ruin Christmas. I'd love to call it a subplot, but honestly it makes up the most of the plot. I'm gonna level with you here. I absolutely hate the whole plot involving Grandma's store, but I can't for the life of me decide if I love or hate Cousin Mel. On the one hand, I know that her whole plot is stupid and contrived, but on the other, she paves the way for one of my favorite characters, I Am Slime.
You said it, not me.
As strange as this sounds, my all-time favorite part of the special is the Grandpa's Gonna Sue the Pants Off a Santa song sung by Mel and Slime. It's so catchy and easy to get stuck in your head, which honestly wasn't such a good thing when trying to fall asleep on Christmas Eve. That's really the case with all the music of the special. The worst part about this being the last tradition was that I'd have to deal with all the songs being stuck in my head as I tried to sleep. Say what you want, but these songs are catchy as hell. Aside from Mel's dumb plot, I'm happy to say that most of the stuff dealing with the hit and run is very well done. We get to see everything from the song play out pretty much as it's described, though it is pretty weird that they literally begged her not to go. Of course, our main lad Jake Spankenheimer is the only one who really believes that Grandma got hit by the reindeer, and everyone else barely acts like they even care for the next year or so. Grandpa even seems a little excited about it at times. Jake can't bear to give up on his beloved grandma, however, and eventually takes the situation to the head man, Santa Claus himself. But like most Christmas specials, it isn't enough for you to bring Santa Claus himself to evaluate the problem, because Slime spirits amnesiac Grandma away and Santa is sent to court for the disappearance of Grandma. Of course, everything turns out okay in the end. Noel's plan is foiled, Grandma's returned back to her family, and Santa is free to go. And as much love as I hold for this movie, boy is it a mixed bag. On one hand, you've got a cult classic Christmas song beautifully brought to life, and on the other, it's ruined by big business. One second the animation goes for a more realistic approach, the next it looks like they've stepped into the world of the Looney Tunes. But it's really not all that bad. If you can look past the jagged edges, Grandma Got Ran Over by a Reindeer can be an enjoyable holiday movie. Honestly, I think this movie would have been looked at a lot more fondly had they just stuck with the core of the song. If I were you, I'd give it a watch for myself to see what you make of it. It's honestly not as bad as it seems, though it's definitely held back by some of its choices. But in the end, it still managed to strike that special chord for me and kept me coming back every year for the last of my Christmas traditions.
Vamonos!
So that concludes my Christmas traditions. So many fond Christmas memories were made in those years, memories that have shaped the very person I've become. And although I stopped the traditions a few years ago, thinking I was too old to be watching Kipper and Caillou on Christmas Eve, rewatching these tapes have been a real treat. That's not to say that I don't watch any of them during Christmas though. In fact, I still make a point to watch The Year Without a Santa Claus every Christmas Eve, whenever I get the chance. And if there's enough time, I might even pop in Grandma, or even Caillou. The fact is, my traditions are a major reason why Christmas Eve is still my all-time favorite day of the year. Sure, Christmas Day is the main show with all the presents and family gatherings, but Christmas Eve is the day where you anxiously look forward to all the joys tomorrow will bring. And after all, who could forget the feeling in the pit of your stomach as you tried to fall asleep on Christmas Eve, wondering if Santa was on his way?
And though Santa doesn't seem to be coming to me this year... Do you hear that? Oh my god! Gotta go!
On behalf of the Obscurity channel, I'd like to wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
This is Dan,